Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be in this world today. And regardless of the time zone, we're all coming together at the same time in the same place so we can have some amazing conversation. So welcome to this episode of Blue TV. We are here every morning, or excuse me, not every morning, every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, and then you guys can figure out the rest of the time zones. But needless to say, we are here on Wednesdays so we can give you practical tips and tricks that you can leverage when this live is over so that you too may elevate your game here on LinkedIn. That being said, I think, as you know, some of you may be new, so you all may not know, but we have a mix of some solo events like this one today, and then we have some amazing guests. The goal when we have our guests is obviously to get to know a little bit more about them, but ultimately, those of us here on the Blue TV have established ourselves as Blue voices, and those are the top badges. And we have learned a tremendous amount, and we just want to give back to the community. We want them to learn some of the things that we have learned over our journey here on LinkedIn. So I want to start first by thanking our amazing sponsors. We have all things related to marketing. If you are looking for marketing collateral or looking for how to create your messaging, ICP, etc., or even events such as this live stream, podcasts, or you need support for your live events, actually in-person events, Market Me More is your one-stop shop for all marketing needs. If you're looking for sales help, building new process, auditing and correcting or making new changes, or just basic coaching on how to leverage AI or new technologies and still retain that human element within the sales process, Cellivators is also your go-to place. And then if you are looking for or looking to become a voice of impact, Top Voices Unite is where you can find all things about those who are making impact today. So I want to welcome everyone there. I know that there are some of those that are here every week, and we appreciate you guys. We also appreciate those who may be tuning in after the episode. So if you are on Team Live, I'd love for you to leave us a comment below and let us know where you're located. By the way, I'm here in Houston, Texas. I'm looking 69 degrees, so a bit chillier than I would like, and actually a bit chillier than it's been over the past few days in the morning. At 10 a.m., it's usually a bit warmer than this. Last week, I think I was a bit chilled also, and I actually wore a sweatshirt today. I did not. I am wearing longer sleeves, though, but it is a bit chilly. Sunny, though. Beautiful skies. So excited to be here from Houston, Texas. Tracy says, greetings from Houston. Denise, great seeing you this morning. Tracy, great to have you out there. Thank you. Those of you that are here live again, very much like Tracy, let us know where you are located. I love Tracy. We have been to a live, like a in-person LinkedIn meetup, which was really cool. Although it's been a while, Tracy, would love to see you soon. And if you are not out there, Gino is out there on Team Live. He is from my hometown of Huntsville, Alabama. So excited to have you out there, Gino. And he has an amazing story. So if you don't know Gino, make sure you go meet him. But those that are not tuning in live, who might be listening after the fact, definitely let us know that by giving us the hashtag Team Replay. And also let us know where you're chiming in from, and we'll come back so that we can have amazing conversation even after the show. But Melanie is here. She's on Team Live, excited to have a full house. And I know there are many of you who are out there watching and not engaging, and that's okay too, right? Our goal is today, as we talk about really the psychology of really having a good call to action, right? One that feels natural. If you walk away with a tip, whether you engage here or not, that is really the purpose, right? We want to make sure that you can elevate your game here too on LinkedIn. So let's talk a little bit about our topic today. So we have we talk all things LinkedIn every week. This week in particular, what we really want to cover is how do we create a call to action that actually does call to action, right? If you think about the silent followers, we talked about those individuals last week, right? It was how do we get them to engage? Because the reality is, we'll take a step back for a second. And by the way, Gino says it's 50 degrees in Huntsville, a lot chillier than here in Houston. Burr. If we think about all of us here on LinkedIn, we may not want to admit it to ourselves, but the reality is we are all here to sell something. That something could be definitely a product or a service. But sometimes it's just our thought leadership. It's our brand. It's a program that we're launching. It's a workshop. Maybe it's for a company where we might be in corporate sales or have a corporate role, and we are trying to just get the messaging out about the company that we work for, right? It doesn't really matter. We are all here trying to sell something, even if it's not by profession or an actual product or service. So that being said, when you admit that to yourself, first and foremost, you will look at your content and your comments in a different lens. So let's look through the lens that we are all salespeople in some sorts or another, right? So if we are creating content, especially those of us who remember, content can be posts, newsletters, it can even be your comments. So if you are not commenting today, if you're not generating your own content, then I would leverage first comments. Go start finding posts to engage with and have conversation in the comments. That will be your first entry into creating content. Now, most of us who are probably watching, the ones that I see on here, do some form of their own content already. So how do we get those silent followers, the ones who actually, by the way, will be the ones more likely to engage with you and want to buy your product, your service, or buy into your workshop or whatever it is that you're out there promoting? Those are the ones we want to reach. We're going to give you a little bit of a framework today to really to engage those silent individuals, those invisible audience members, into some real relationships, right? So I will tell you, here's what most people get wrong when they are creating call to actions. They believe that the ones who are the loudest, who are the commenters, the ones who share, the ones who like, those are the ones who tend to be the ones who buy. I mentioned the ones who don't are usually the ones who don't comment, engage. Those are our silent ones, and those are the ones who end up buying the most. So let's talk about what some of the call to actions are that really don't work. They are: click now, schedule today, buy this, ring my bell. I hate that one probably the most. What they do is they cause what we would call a little bit of friction. It causes someone to feel a bit pressure, usually too soon, because again, you're talking to your silent ones, the ones who are loud, who comment, who like, who share. Those are the ones who are going to engage regardless. It's the ones who don't engage. So how do you make them feel comfortable without creating friction? And it's also making sure that when you create a call to action that doesn't create friction, that you don't ignore the context or the timing with where to put that call to action. So think of a call to action really like an invitation, I guess, for a better way to dance, right? Think about when you're on the dance floor. It's really weird when you're standing there by yourself. It's super uncomfortable to ask someone to dance. So you usually, when you want to do that, you've got to find a way to put that person that you want to ask at ease. Call to action is no different. Tracy says, yes, Denise, we're all creators, believe it or not. Even when silent, we are showing up with presence, known or unknown. Great point. Yes, Thank you very much, Tracy. But think of it really as a call to action is simply we are asking someone to dance. Put yourself back in the days when you were homecoming dances or you're on the dance floor at the country bar. Okay, so maybe not everyone's at a country bar unless you're here in Houston, but put yourself in that position, right? You don't want someone to feel like you're being too aggressive. You don't want someone to walk away. You want to match the tone of the music, the mood, you just want to soak in that moment and you want to engage in the way that one should given that moment, right? So think of call to actions as an extension to your conversation so that someone feels comfortable to want to dance with you. So CTAs that really work are the ones that feel natural, not like you're demanding, asking them to do something immediately. So maybe reframing the way you create your call to action. Instead of saying something like, book a call, maybe it's curious if this might help you too. DM me curious. Or instead of subscribe now, want this in your inbox instead of your scroll or your feed or, whatever it is that you're trying to get that, whatever they're visualizing at that moment, right? But not just to subscribe, ask them to go somewhere where it's a bit more private. And instead of comment below, have you ever dealt with this too? I'd love to learn how you handled it. They feel more like real conversation. Like when you are having a conversation, it's not like, hey, comment right now and tell me what you think. It's, hey, what do you think, right? Think about content that you are creating as though it is a conversation. And I talk about this all the time. In sales, it is so very important to foster conversation, not to ask them 20 questions, not to command them to give you a response. So Gino says, I got to catch up on the comments. So sorry. Tracy says, call to action. If you'd like to talk to me, know that I'm always available. Oh, I love that. It's subtle, right? And if you're positioning yourself as someone who is knowledgeable and expert in the space, it may take 2 or 3 of those types of statements, but they'll come to you. Gino says, call to action. Would you like to dance? Set up a Zoom or a call. Yes. Okay. So, really the dance was really to make yourself think about how uncomfortable it feels when you're on the dance floor and you want to ask someone to dance, or when you are the person who wants to dance with someone, expecting someone to ask you. It's really about doing it in a way that doesn't feel weird and harsh, right? It's about getting back to this concept of a conversation. It's almost like when you think about when you have a conversation with someone, you're sitting in front of them on a Zoom, Gino, or you're sitting at a table like Tracy and I have together, right? It's about having in part of that conversation, making sure that that call to action flows with the conversation, like it's a natural next step. When real people feel like they are being seen and not sold to, they will want to engage, right? If we are aligned with them, if we are, and I say this all the time too, meet people where they are. When we are meeting them where they are in their moment, they are more aligned with us and willing to engage with us. But if you say, comment below, DM me, all the ones that we've already mentioned, it feels like I got to do it and I don't want to do it. And it feels unnatural because that's not how you would converse in a conversation itself. It has to match the stage of where you are in that conversation. So if, for example, think of it in terms of, in fact, and you should, anytime you're creating content, again, whether it's a comment or a post or a newsletter, right? Anytime you're creating content, for that moment, you got to think, who is this content supposed to resonate with? Who do I want that person to read it the most, right? Because again, if you are, and maybe not again, because it's been a while since we've talked about this, you should be creating content buckets. And so your content may on one day be poised or specific to one buyer. It may be specific to just someone you want to engage with that doesn't have anything to do with what your product and service is, right? It's about creating those content buckets. So when you do that for that day, I want you to think about who it is that you are writing that post for. Have you just met them? Are they potentially interested, but they're still unsure, so they're getting to know you a bit more? Or are they really warm and ready for you to, for you, meaning they want your product, your service, or whatever it is you're selling? When you create your post, you've got your ICP, the person that you're speaking to, in your mind. And then it's about making sure that the call to action meets that it feels natural and progressional. So if it's, for example, someone that has just connected with you, right? You want to introduce them to who you are. You want to invite them to really stay engaged with you, right? To really learn more about you. So save, follow, read are some great words to use. If you've been connected with someone for a while, you know that there are interested people that are still unsure as to whether to engage with you for your product, service, etc. Invite them to a small conversation by maybe a poll or a free guide, or maybe inviting them, like we mentioned earlier. Does this resonate with you? Send me a DM with resonate, right? Or let me know your story and what resonates with you. If you are writing for someone who is warm, they're ready, they've been around for a while, then it's really about trying to give them an offer and maybe really putting a calendar link so that they can schedule some time with you to further the conversation, right? If you skip stages and go directly to these really strong call to actions, you lose a tremendous amount of trust. So you do have to, in your mind, think, who are you writing this content for? And make sure that your call to action models that. So Rohit says, hey Rohit, how are you? Good to have you out there. We've got Tracy, Gina, we've got Rohit, we've got Melanie. I'm sure Nikki is out there. I'm sure that there are several others. So again, welcome to everyone who's here. We've been talking about silent followers for a couple of weeks now. And the silent follower are usually the ones who actually buy from us. They sign up for our newsletters. They buy our product or our service. They're bought into our expertise and our thought leadership, right? Those are the ones that we want to target the most. This week, we're spending time in trying to understand, how do we create call to actions that allow us to engage with those silent followers. They are usually, and the point at which we're in right now, they're usually the ones that you don't know are liking, following, saving. They're not doing any of those things, but they're watching, they're reading, right? How do we start to get them to engage? So we talked about the call to actions that don't work. Now we're talking really about the ones that do work, but more importantly, when you create those call to actions, that you are first making sure that it flows like a conversation, and second, that it's put in the right place and delivered in the most appropriate way, so that it is like you are having a conversation. When you're writing your content, think about you sitting in front of someone, whether live or on a Zoom, and you're having a conversation with them. Are you talking to someone who just probably connected with you? Are you talking to someone who has connected with you and is probably loving what you've got but to say, or what you do, or what you offer, but they haven't really engaged? Or are you talking to someone who is been following you for a while, loves what you do, and really wants to figure out how to engage with you? That's where we create those call to actions based on those types of individuals, and making sure that there is strategy and it feels like a conversation. I mean, think of it as, a lot of times, I challenge you to go back and look at some call to actions today, because most of them feel Like, hey, I finished the post, now DM me, or I finished the post, comment below. Your call to action should really be a part of the story. It should be a feeling that you evoke someone to engage with you for. If your post evokes, frustration, your call to action should really offer some relief, right? If your post evokes inspiration, your call to action should be really about channeling, that inspiration in a way that is beneficial to them. People click, people take action, people engage, people communicate because they feel something. Everything that we do, we should be creating an experience, even if it's just in a conversation. And your call to action is like it's okay if they want to act on it. It's okay to engage with me, right? It's making them feel less like you're demanding, that it feels unnatural, and making it more a part of the conversation. So I'd love to know, for you guys that are out there live right now, how many of you guys actually create call to actions in your posts? So while there's always a little bit of a delay with StreamYard, so we'll give everyone a second to engage. But if you think about, just Tracy says, question, do you have a journal for your connections? How do you keep on track? How do you keep on track of them and their activities with you? Yeah, Tracy. So there are a couple of ways you can do that. If you don't have a CRM, which, by the way, the CRM doesn't have to be a Salesforce or a Go High Level. It can even just be an Excel spreadsheet, right? You can also, if you pay for Sales Navigator, you can have those conversations through Sales Navigator and keep track of them there. But yes, you can. I am a crazy note taker. I have, my notebook is this general notebook. It's a Cambridge notebook. And it says, I've got my to-dos always on one side. And then I have pages of notes. Well, that's today still to come. I have pages of notes from conversations that I have, and I put the name and the date. If they are DMs or emails, I'll just put, 10, 21, and 21 was yesterday. So today's 10. So I'd put 10, 22, and I'd put emails, and then I'd make notes there. But you can put them in spreadsheets. You can use a notebook like I do, a journal. Like I do have a journal where it's both my personal and my business, and I'll put a lot of stuff in there too. Sometimes if I've had a conversation and I want to think through it, I'll write it in the journal. So I may notate it in my notebook and then write about it. But I think that there are so many different ways to do that. But yes, I would say you got to keep track of them. I mean, if I look at my DMs, I get a million DMs a day. A million's an exaggeration, but you get where I'm headed, right? It is a lot of DMs, and keeping track of those conversations when you're constantly going can be very difficult. I would recommend doing something, whatever that something is. Gino says he doesn't leave any call to actions. He doesn't leave any call to actions. And he said, I can share notes from our conversation. So he and I had a live conversation. I think it was last week, Gino, right? And we did talk a lot about just LinkedIn in general and how to make, how to leverage LinkedIn in a way that generates inbound leads. And one of those ways really is about creating a call to action. I think we miss an opportunity when we don't create a call to action. And I will say this out loud right now. Everyone take a note. Call to action can even be when you are commenting on someone's content. Because what you're trying to do is foster conversation. Not only is it helpful for you and for the person that you're engaging with, if you're asking questions, if you're finding ways to get them to engage, creating a call to action, but the algorithm actually likes it too. So it does two things. It does foster more conversation, but it also shows the algorithm that you want to have conversation. So it is super important to create a call to action, not just in your post, but also in your newsletter and also in your comments. Even if they don't engage back with you, the more you can do that, the more likely that you are to have those robust conversations that turn into opportunities, which could be partnerships, they could be collaborations, could be deals that you're closing because you've got a product or a service. It doesn't really matter, but it does add value when you create a call to action that feels natural, that feels like you're in, you're still in the conversation with them to get them to want to engage with you. And I will tell you, most people who are these silent followers will want to probably engage more in the DMs or something really simple, like, leave an emoji if you agree. Then they don't have to write anything, right? They can just leave an emoji or just like it if you agree, right? Maybe it's just a like because they don't really like very often either. So I would say practical tips for today. And then I'm going to take us to kind of what I think my call to action should be for you guys today. But takeaways for today are: call to actions can be in your posts, in your newsletter, but also in your comments. Call to action should be an extension of the conversation. It should be, you should think of yourself as though you're sitting in front of them, whether live or on Zoom, having a conversation. And everything should flow. It should feel right in the moment that you are in, very much like you're on this dance floor, right? If the music's really loud and jumpy, you're going to go over there and scream at him, hey, you want to dance? But if it's a slow dancing song where it's a partner, where partners are dancing, it's like, hey, would you like to join me out on the dance floor? Right? It's the way you approach someone, the way you call to action with them, the way you engage with them should be based on the mood that you're creating with your content. And it should, again, be natural. And remember that it's as though you are sitting with someone live, whether again in person or on Zoom, even on a phone call, really. So those are the takeaways I have for you, because those silent followers are the ones who tend to do more business with us than those who are the ones that always engage. The ones who always engage tend to be our friends, and they're harder to convert. Or they're the ones that we get to know really well. They're harder to convert. Doesn't mean you can't, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But the ones who don't engage with us are the ones that we usually get the most revenue out of. So here's what I would suggest for you guys today. And it was really intentional, which I try to be at the end of every episode anyway. But if you've ever written a call to action that just didn't get any response, Gino, I know you don't really do that. So for someone like yourself who does not create a call to action, I want you to think about your next post. Write a call to action that seems like it's flowing as part of the conversation. If you have done call to actions and it didn't work, go find a post that didn't feel comfortable, that didn't seem and where no one engaged, and change it up. You can go back to a post and edit it, or you can take that content, rewrite it, and create a different call to action. And if you decide that you're super interested in call to actions that probably convert better without any pressure, drop an emoji in and I will send you over 10 CTAs that convert without pressure. Because the best CTAs are the ones that don't cause friction, don't feel like you're commanding or asking them to do something that just is at the end of a post or end of a comment. It's the ones that are clear, that are conversational, that feel aligned with the person that you are attempting to writing to, the person you're attempting to write to. Sorry. So I want to thank everyone for today's call. I did a quick summary and my call to action. If you already write call to actions, go back and look at the ones that didn't work, rewrite it. If you don't do any call to actions, I challenge you to do your next post, your next comment, put one in there. And if you don't know how, if you're really uncomfortable, I'll drop an emoji and I'll send you 10 CTAs that convert without pressure. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to remind you that we're here Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Sarji, I'll get that, and I hope I pronounced your name accurately. I will get that out to you. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. We're here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Our goal on these calls is to make sure that, or on these episodes, is to make sure that we give you practical tips and tricks that you too can leverage to elevate what you're doing on LinkedIn from those of us, whether by myself as Denise Martha Bachman or with guests, we too have leveraged in order to see the success that we have here on LinkedIn. We are sponsored by All Things Marketing, Market Me More, All Things Sales, Cellivators, and all things related to making an impact, Top Voices Unite. So I want to thank everyone again. Special thank you to those who were out there today, Sarji, Gino, Melanie, Tracy, Rohit, anyone else that I might have missed. I hope I didn't. Those of you who are on Team Replay, be sure to leave us the hashtag Team Replay. Let us know where you're located so that we can come back and have some amazing conversation with you. And I want to thank everyone one last time. Happy Hump Day, and see you here next week on another episode of Blue TV. Thanks, everyone.